It seems like a brand new week, but the stories are still the same. It's COVID, COVID, COVID. Numbers of cases, lockdowns, how we're dealing with COVID. So we're going to look at COVID, how it's going to affect the markets, how it is affecting the markets. We're also going to be talking about bank earnings, bank stocks, how they're going to respond to some of the earnings that they're going to be reporting, and vaccines. Great news on vaccines. I think it's going to be a great video. At some point, will this lockdown or shutdown start to creep into growth numbers, GDP numbers for our city, for our province, and even for our country? The mayor of Toronto has said that we need to have people healthy before we can consider the economy. And I've said many times that I don't think it's an either or situation. I think it's more of a balance. And I think, mental health and physical health and economic health, it all goes in one pile, in my opinion. People still believe the stock market is down. They still think things are really bad out there. And I've actually received a couple of questions this week asking me, well, with the market being down and things being so negative, should I be taking my money out of the market? And, it's funny because I'm actually putting money into the market at this point. The markets are looking ahead, looking towards vaccines, therapeutics. They're looking to the day where we're actually going to be able to go back outside and eat in a restaurant, go to Disney World. And so the market's looking 6 to 12 months ahead. And we're seeing these markets on fire over the past few days, the past week. And so I think this movement in the markets higher will continue. So yes, I think all of the shutdowns, the higher COVID positivity rates and cases, I think it's really, unfortunately, still casting a negative spell over a lot of investors. A lot of great news on vaccines, and that too has helped take the market higher. And that is another area that I think I'm going to be focused on going forward. It is definitely a game changer and a market mover to the upside for sure. It seems like for the last 3 Mondays in a row, we've received really, really positive news on vaccines. We now have 3 vaccines that have an effective rate in and around 90% or greater. And this is fantastic. AstraZeneca just reported this past Monday, and earlier we saw Moderna, and then even before that, Pfizer. And we actually just heard over the last, I think it was Friday, that Pfizer approached the FDA in the United States and asked for emergency use authorization, which will allow them to start getting their vaccines out. And they're talking about meeting with the FDA sometime around December 8, 9, or 10. There's, I think, meetings going on during that time. And we all believe that that's when the vaccines will start to flow and get out to the general population in the United States. Obviously, starting with their frontline workers, healthcare workers first, maybe some of the more vulnerable, but then hopefully working their way to the rest of the population. And Moderna should follow right behind them, and even AstraZeneca behind them. And we're actually hearing Johnson & Johnson working on their own vaccine. We should hear data possibly at the start of the new year or maybe the end of December on that. This week, we're also going to hear from our major banks and our economy. And that's going to be really important because I think our banks will be able to give us a better picture on how our Canadian economy is doing. What better companies or sector of the market can describe how our economy here in our country is doing than the banks? They are definitely the backbone or the bloodline for our economy. And really, banks are the bloodline for any economy. It's going to be interesting to see what our 5 major banks report this week. Another area to keep an eye on. I know a lot of Canadian investors own a lot of Canadian bank stock, either individually or through their mutual funds. So once again, I think very important. But overall, I'm looking for a positive tone this week in the markets. I'm looking for a positive tone to continue throughout the rest of November and into December and even into 2021 right now. So I guess if I had to dust off my crystal ball, I'm quite positive with respect to where things are going.